Hello, everyone. Okay, thanks for joining our meetup session today. And I will go to welcome new joiner to our meetup. And I will tell you about us a little bit. And then we'll invite our amazing speaker for today's session. So our goal for meetup, the main goal that we have for our meetup is to stay connected and bring all Power BI lovers at least one per month together and then stay connected. For example, you can connect with us after or during the month between two sessions. You can connect in LinkedIn or YouTube, or you can put a message in our meetup. And then also you can bring, like, for example, we like this topic more than this topic, we can search for that, and then we can be presenting the topic that you love. And we are totally happy to have you today, and we will have a great session with the amazing speaker today also. Benjamin.
Yeah, so welcome everyone to this new session. Make sure to follow us on the meetup page. So you have the QR code on the screen right now. So make sure you keep up with the next event. So we have an amazing speaker today. So I think we can invite our speaker on the stage right now. So
Yes, for sure. Hello,
hello, Pragati.
Pragati.
Hi, Atisha. Hi, Benjamin. How are you both?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for
Yeah,
joining
I'm
us.
good.
Thanks for accepting our invitation, and we are so happy to have you.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure.
And now you can introduce yourself. You can tell our audience what you have for today. All stage is yours now. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll just share my screen and then I have my introduction bit there. So yeah, I'm sure
Okay.
people can
Okay.
hear it
Thank
there.
you. So we
Sure,
leave you, and then when the question is coming, we interrupt you. Thank you.
sure, definitely, yeah.
Thank you.
Um, I'm sharing my screen. If one of you can just let me know if you can see my screen, then that will be great. Can you see? I mean, obviously it's a black screen right now, but
Yes.
let me share my PowerPoint deck. I
Yes.
think it should be my screen here. Okay, cool. So yeah, welcome everyone today to my session. And first of all, thank you, Benjamin and Atifa, for inviting me. And it's my pleasure speaking and presenting at your user group. So yeah, today in today's session, we are going to talk about so in 2024, there have been so many amazing announcements around Microsoft Fabric, around Power BI. So in today's session, what I'm going to show you is some of my favorite updates that came out in Power BI in this year. So we'll go through some of the updates which I really loved and where they can be helpful in your reports. So we'll just go and take an overview. These updates have been chosen based on my preference because I love them. That's why I want to showcase them. And I'm sure there might be people in the audience who have other views around these updates, or they may have loved other updates as well. But yeah, today let's go through some of the updates that I liked over this year that were announced. So before I go through the session, a quick introduction around me. Okay, my screen has frozen a little bit. Okay, so those who don't know me, my name is Pragati Jain, and recently I have become a mom to a very little boy. He's a 3 months old boy. So in case you guys hear a little bit of cry in the background, then yeah, and that's the baby crying in the next door to me. So yeah, that's the recent role I've taken up and enjoying it a lot. Apart from that, I'm a Microsoft Data Platform MVP. I work mostly on the Power BI side, but now mostly on the Microsoft Fabric side of things. Apart from that, I'm also a super user at Microsoft Fabric community. So in case if you guys haven't joined Microsoft Fabric community, definitely go there and check out things because earlier it was Microsoft Power BI community. And trust me, I have learned majority of my Power BI from that community. because there are amazing people who help you out with all the issues and they help you with your learning journey. But now, as Microsoft Fabric has come into existence and Power BI has become part of Microsoft Fabric, so now we have Microsoft Fabric community, and there are different areas where you can explore on this community. So if you haven't joined it, definitely go and join it. Apart from that, I've got nearly 10 plus years of industry experience, and currently I'm working as analytics manager at Avanade here in London, United Kingdom. Outside Avanade, I also organize data platform conference, which is Data Weekender. You guys might have heard about it over LinkedIn, Twitter, Bluesky. And this is where we invite speakers from around the world. And it's a free conference. It is a one-day conference which we organize once in a year, and we are planning for the another one somewhere around early next year. So stay tuned for the updates. Apart from that, I also manage Microsoft Fabric UK user group, again, where we welcome different speakers, talking and sharing knowledge around Microsoft Fabric. So if any of you want to speak and want a stage to share your knowledge, definitely reach out to me. One fun fact about me is I'm a painter, so I just like to call myself a techie artist. Okay, so a lot about me. Now, agenda. Now, today's agenda is the shortest, okay? There is nothing more than this one line. So today we are going to just see overview of some of the best Power BI updates of 2024 in my view, why I like them. I'll share that as well. So this is just a one slide all demo session, and this is the kind of session I love doing. I really don't like having lots of slides in the deck. So this is what I have in today's presentation. That's it. And in the end, I'll have a thank you slide. And in case you want to have any questions and in case you want to connect with me, you can connect with me at different social platforms. So let's go directly to Microsoft Power BI Desktop, where I'll be showing you some of the updates that I loved that came out all through this year. So let me just switch my screen and I'll just get my Power BI. So I'll just bring my Power BI screen, and if Benjamin or Atifa, you can confirm you can see my Power BI Desktop screen, then that will be great.
Yes, it works perfectly.
Okay, and if in case in the audience someone just mentions they are not able to see the screen properly, then let me know. I can make it bigger. So yeah, definitely reach out to me if there's some issues with the screen alignment or Zoom. Okay, so as I said, in 2024, there has been so many updates. But today I'm going to show you 9 updates that I loved that came out in 2024. So one of my favorite update that came out this year was in March 2024. And this update was more around data labels alignment. Now, when it comes to designing the Power BI reports, there has been, a lot of, debate around whether you should have data labels or whether you should not have data labels. But there are certain scenarios where you end up having data labels on your visuals or on your charts on your report. Like, for example, in this case, where I have got my x-axis, but I don't have my y-axis. So in this case, having data labels makes sense. So when we talk about best practices on charts in Power BI, and if you want to have data labels, it means either have data labels or have your axis. So you should have one of it, not both of them, because the moment you turn on your y-axis in this case and your data labels, it just makes your chart messier. So either have data labels or have access, because if you have access, then users can just hover over and see what that number is on the chart. But if you don't have access, then sometimes data labels can really help you, making your charts more clear and, provide the right information. So before I go into this, what I'm using a very simple data that I got from a public website. And this is the CO2 emissions data. I've been using this for many presentations at different conferences and user groups because I just love this data source. It's like open source. You can do a lot of things with it. And this is more around CO2 emissions around globally. So what this data contains is, like, obviously I've got a nice star schema data model here, but what this main fact table contains is it has just got emissions around different countries and for years all through the world. That's what we are talking about. So just emissions by different emission type as well. So for example, what kind of emission type has caused my emissions around the world, what countries are facing those emissions, what regions are facing those emissions. So just giving a bit of a background, the data I'm using for showcasing this updates. So what I have got on this simple chart is it's a very simple line chart. And on this line chart, you can see that I have, one second, let me just open one window on the left. Yeah, okay, cool. But I have to switch to the other one. Yeah. So what this line chart has got, I've got some data labels here. And what this chart is showing is, if I just make it a little bigger, so it has got few things at different years. So it's showing basically total CO2 emissions over time. That's the simple line chart that I have got. If I hover over it, I can see, okay, over the different years, what CO2 emissions have been and how it has been growing over time. And yeah, I think for 2021, there's a drop because the data is incomplete in this data source for year 2021. That's why the emissions are like, you can see a drop there on the chart. So let's ignore 2021 for now. Okay, so now here on this chart, you can see I have got like different data labels here. So here you can see in the data labels that I've got emissions for that particular year. And then I have also compared that emissions with the previous year and then shown, okay, how that emission is when compared to the last year, like it is 58% here, and then whether it has gone up or it has come down. So I've got few labels showcasing on this line chart. Okay, perfectly fine. But if I see these data labels, I can see that it's like in a single line and it's like too much. Like, for example, what if I want to have emissions and then showing 64.79K or the 62K on the next line and say difference versus last in the third line. So how do I get that? Because it's kind of making my data label kind of messy here, right? So a new update came up in March 2024 this year, which actually allows you to do that. So for that, what I'll do, I'll just copy this chart. I hope everyone knows how Power BI works. You can just do Control-C, Control-V to copy stuff and copy charts within the report, right? So what I'm going to do is, if I just make this chart bigger, we are going to turn on one setting here that's going to make things very clear when we see data labels on this chart. So if I go to the visualizations and if I go to the format settings of this visual, there's a new setting that has come up under data labels. So if I go to data labels, and if I go, let me minimize a few things. If I go further down, there's something called layout. And if I go to the layout, I've got few options there. Currently, it is single line. That's why all of my data labels are in my single line. But what if now there's a new option that came up, which is multi-line. The moment I select multi-line, my labels actually become much clearer. Like, okay, emissions information, which is 64.79 for this particular year, and then difference versus last is 0.58%, and then it has gone up when compared to 2019. So this kind of information actually, I mean, this kind of setting has actually made my data labels look more clearer on my chart rather than like a messy single line, multiple data label information for that particular data point. So this kind of update is something I was looking for from a long time. And when this came out, I was like very much excited. And you can clearly see how clear a data label is. And obviously you can play around with so many things there, like how you want the alignment. You can play with the alignment, whether it is left, it is centered, or it is right aligned. I kept it center aligned for now because it looked better to me. But yeah, it's your preference how you want it to be. And then obviously within this, you have got other settings as well, which you can play around. But the main thing, what is important here is that layout setting that came up in March 2024 for your data labels. And this just makes your chart quite clear. I mean, obviously, there is still a messy stuff going on here because over the time, there are different data points and my labels are still near. I mean, they are not that clear at certain instances, but you can play around with the settings and make them more clear. But still, the multi-line data labels is a win-win thing for me on a chart, and it makes my chart very clear. So this was the first update I wanted to share with you, and it came out in March 2024. Just one more thing before we go forward. I'm just going to share a link around Power BI blogs, and here you can actually find blogs for every month, like what came out in every month. So I'll just share this link with the hosts, and I'm sure they can share it in the common chat. So I've just shared the link in the private chat. I think I'm Benjamin. If you can share this link with the audience, that would be great. And here you can actually see updates for every other month. Let me quickly show that to you. So if you come to this link, Power BI Updates blog, it actually shows you month by month every other update. So if I go to, like, say, March 2024, and if I go to my Power BI March 2024 feature summary, I can see all the updates that came through this year. And I'm showing you this data labels alignment update, where this multi-line layout and how you can align them at different spaces, different sites came out. So you can look at these updates here. So just wanted to show you, like, you can go and check all the updates that came through in Power BI at this blog. Okay, cool. Let me open my screen. Okay, so this was the first update I wanted to share with you. Let's go to the next update. Now we have to go through the 9 updates, so let's go quickly. Now the second one that came in was in May 2024, and this was around matrix layouts. Now I know how much people still love tabular and matrix visuals in Power BI report. I mean, there is no single report I've seen so far where a table visual is not there or a matrix visual is not there. I mean, you have other visuals, but still the table and matrix visuals still have their own significance on a good Power BI report. So for example, I've got a very simple data here again. I mean, I've got the region information. Now this is my matrix visual. And what I've done here is I've got region and emission type under my row section. And I'm just showing the distribution around the emissions, how this has been over different regions by different emission types. Now, this is my simple matrix default layout that I have, and that I would go for when I'm creating a simple matrix visual. But in May, there have been few updates that came out. So let's just see the first thing that I liked about this update. I'm just copy pasting the same visual here for now. And if I go to the format settings, I'll just make this bigger. And if I go back to the format settings, there's a new setting that came up in Power BI against the matrix visual, which is layout and style presence. If I just expand it, I can see that currently my style is default. But if I just expand that, I can see the different kinds of style. That's fine. This option was already there. But the new thing that came out is layout. Currently, this layout is the default compact layout. But if I just go through this drop down and see the 2 new layout settings have been here. One is outline and one is tabular. Let's select the first one, outline. If I select the outline, what it did was it kind of showed me 2 different levels, like this is my region, and then this is my emission type, and then this is the emissions against different emission type for that particular region. So I can see that totals are at the top here against my higher level, which is my region. Okay, so that is good one because it kind of shows my layout in a better way rather than, seeing everything in a compact form. I mean, this is not bad. You can keep this as well. But sometimes having totals at the higher level here, and then, mentioning that this is total and then this is a split by emission type can help users grab that information in a better way. So the moment I select outline, it kind of gives me more, clarity on, okay, this is my total, overall total against all the regions. But when I see a split by regions, I can see this total, and further by different emission type, I can split that emissions here and clubbed up value is this. So this is how this outline layout looks. And there's one more thing in here. I mean, I have seen certain reports where, previously people have written calculations to get this thing done. Like, for example, here, this is emission type. And what if I want my Europe and Central Asia repeated against every row here? Then how will this work? Now there's a simple toggle button here, repeat row headers. And if I do this, I can actually get these row headers repeated against every emission type. And I know for Europe, Central Asia against coal, I've got this much emission. For Europe, Central Asia against gas, I've got this much emission. So this kind of, gives me more clarity in case I want to represent my information in certain way. Okay, let's look at other setting. And similarly, if I go further down, I can see that split happening against every other region. And same thing, the row header is getting repeated against every emission type here. Now, what if I switch to other stuff? Like, for example, I'll just toggle off this repeat row headers and let's go to the third setting. Now, one thing here, in the outline layout, the total is at the top against the region level or against the higher level that you have got. But suppose if I select this tabular option. Now, tabular option is something we are used to seeing as Excel users, right? You have got your region, you have got your emission, and then emission type, and then at the bottom, you have got total of all the emissions that have been against those emission type for that region at the bottom row. So this is the tabular layout. So it's up to you, whichever works for you. For me, the tabular works more better because I can link to it. Okay, this is my region information, then against region, all the emissions against different emission type. And in the end, I have total here. And similarly, I can see for other regions as well. And the same setting here, if I want my row headers to repeat against emission type, I can do that as well. I generally avoid this because I don't like repeating the information, because if I disable this, it still tells me that these emission types are for this certain region. So it gives me that kind of layout which I'm looking for. So that's how you can actually make your matrix visual looking better and, you know, more informative for the consumers when they're looking at it while opening your reports. Then there is another setting that I loved about this May 2024 update for the matrix visual is adding a blank row against every row header. Now, I don't know how much of you have done this, but previously I have created a certain calculation that every region has a split or, you know, has a blank row before the North America or the next region comes in on my metrics. But now here you can actually do this just by toggling on one setting. So there is a blank row setting here. If I turn this on, it actually adds a blank row and gives me a split before the next region information starts on my matrix visual. And this really helps and really makes the information on my matrix visual clear, because I have done few reports where client literally asked me to get a empty or blank row before the next region information starts, or, you know, next level information starts on my matrix visual. So this setting is like a win-win again for me. I really loved this setting because, again, it makes things clear for me on my matrix visual. I can split the information and I can see the expanded information, but there's still that blank row that makes the information more clear. And again, you can change this. Like, for example, if you want to have a different kind of, you know, color for your rows, you can do that. You can do and play around with few settings here. So that, you know, helps you make information more clear on your matrix visual. And then, yeah, it just helps the consumers to get the right insight. So this was the second update that I really loved, and that came out in May 2024 this year. And yeah, you can just go and explore this feature. It's amazing. You can definitely play a lot around a matrix visual, but in this session, I didn't want to go into making the visuals pretty, rather than focus more on what the updates were and why I liked them. So yeah, if you didn't like the visual elements, then yeah, apologies for that. But yeah, let's stick to the point-to-point information. Yeah. So this was the second update that I loved, and that came out this year. Let's go to the third update. Now, the third update has been something that I have seen some clients asking. And then suddenly I see, oh, there's a direct option to do this. So what I'll do for this is, so this update is more around setting a direct data limit on your visual. I know you can play around a lot with visual filters to do this, but this data limit is different to what we have been doing at a visual level within the report. So what I'll do is I'll just copy one chart from here. I'm just going to copy this chart of mine that I had here, and I'll just get it here. So this is the chart I've got. Okay. Now here in this chart, you can see I've got information starting from 1924, and it goes down. It goes long way to 2021. But what if in certain scenarios, you know, I want to limit this information to, like, say, just 50 years worth of information? Okay, mind my words here. This is not last 50 years, just 50 years of information. Now, if I want to do that on this chart, and if I go to the visual level section, under this filters on this visual, a new setting came up in August. And what that option is like to add a data limit. Now, what this adding data limit does, it allows you to put a limit on your data points on your x-axis, but it is not going from right to left. It is going from left to right. So basically going in ascending order. So for example, if I want to see information between 1920 and say 1973, which is basically the first 50 years that I've represented on this chart, then I can do that data limit. So don't get confused with this data limit. It is not last 50 years. It is the 50 years information starting from the point from where the information is represented on this chart. So it's in ascending order, not in descending order on the chart. Because if it was on the descending order, then it would have information 2021 to somewhere 1940 or something, right? But when I put this data limit, it takes the information from left to right. So basically from smallest value to the further down the line. So that's why it shows me information between 1924 to 1973. I mean, this feature, yeah, I don't know whether it could be very helpful, but sometimes when you come across certain client requirements where they have like very, weird scenarios. No, in this chart, say, I just want to see the first 50 years information or the first 20 years information. Now, rather than creating a measure or a, different way of getting it done in Power BI, you can actually apply this data limit. Otherwise, I mean, you have this top end or bottom end feature as well, but still this data limit could be a straightforward way of getting things done as well. So this was another update that came out in August 2024, and I just wanted to highlight because sometimes there are situations where you get these kind of requirements from your customer or client, and then you can directly get this done straightforward. Any questions so far, Benjamin, or are there any comments or questions? And yeah, if there is okay, there's a question from Joanne. Can I apply data limit feature only to visual level, or can I also apply it to page level or all pages as well? As per I understand, this data limit feature is also, see, this data limit feature. Now, this is the only chart on my page here. Let me just make it clear. I've just expanded it. So as per my understanding, this is only available at visual level. If you see the update for the August, because if I go on to the filters on this page section or filters on all pages section, I don't get that option. The moment I go at the visual level, I get that data limit option. So yeah, so that is only available at visual level, John. Yan Masaba, there's a question. Hello, Pragati, where does the demo data come from? I can share a link, Yan, if you can drop me a message on LinkedIn or if I get time after this session. This is a publicly available CO2 emissions data. If you can just search online, you'll get a link to that. And obviously, this is not the raw data. I have worked a lot on it to get it into the right shape and then, get the star schema model built in. The original data is like in a single file, and then you can keep it rolling. I can share the link later. Yan, if you can just message me later. If I miss it, just message me on LinkedIn. I'll try to share you the link of the data source I'm using. Okay, cool. So let's go to the other update. Okay, I again love this update because yeah, sometimes the charts can be messy, right? I mean, we all design Power BI reports, and yeah, we can't keep everything in mind while designing a big report. Okay, so now what this update is about. This update is more around like while we have legends, like say on a bar chart or a stack column chart or 100% stack chart, then you can actually make your bars and your legends look similar. So let's see how we can do that. Let me just do one thing here. So this is a very simple chart. Okay, I've just got year on my x-axis. I've got total emissions represented, and this is a 100% stack column chart, and I've got legend as my regions. Let me just do one thing. Let's make legends a little bigger. Okay, cool. Now why this feature important? Because sometimes, now in this case, I've just got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 regions as legends. Now, I'm sure everyone has come across the reports where, the number of legends represented on a chart are like, say, more than 20 or 50 or God knows how much, because I've seen so many in some of the reports. So what this setting allows you to do is, so in certain cases, when you're working with like say 100% stack column chart, where information is sometimes not very clear, right? But if I want to align my stacks here with my legends, then how do I do that? So there are certain settings that you can do within at a basically visual level. So what we can do is that in this case, if I go under columns, and here I've got apply settings to, right? And say if I want to say apply settings to East Asia and Pacific, and what I want to do is like say, okay, the color is fine with me, the color of the stack is fine with me, but what I also want to do is I want to give this a border. And say I'll give it a black border for now. Now, the moment I gave black border to the stacks on this chart, you can see my legend has got circles, but it has got the same black border here. So in this case, I can actually see that my stacks are aligned with my legend, because I can see the similar kind of, border on my legend icon as well. And it kind of sometimes can sometimes help me. I mean, when I've got, as I said, there could be charts where you've got so many data points within your legend, then it could just help you while you're highlighting information. Like, for example, if I can say, if I go to a different data point from my series, like say if I go to North America, and then, okay, the color, let me select. So the color here is, yeah, the weird pink here, but it's fine. We have got the pink. And now say if I want to turn on border, and then say if I want to give it a border like say blue color or something. So yeah, I mean, and if you see the legend here, North America, it kind of gets the same kind of, formattings like the ones I've got on my stack. So when it comes to aligning your legends with the stacks that are represented on your chart, I think this could really help you. And again, when there are so many data points or so many stacks on your chart where there is, so much going on, then, this can really help. So again, aligning your legends with the information that you are showing as stacks on your chart can sometimes help. So that's the other update that I really like about. And yeah, you can play with so many things here. But yeah, border and color stands out to me. And then obviously when I select all, I can play around with layout as well. I think these things were already there earlier. The new things that came out was aligning the border and color of your stacks, and that gets by default applied to your legends as well. So this was the other update that I wanted to show you today. Let's go to the next update. Now, after August, there was another update that came out in September, and I think everyone has been asking for it, and that was dark mode in Power BI. Now, you can see dark mode is already applied on my Power BI report, because you can see my whole Power BI desktop is dark mode. Now, how do you enable this? Not everyone is fan of dark mode, but yeah, some people still like it. So if you go to the options and settings, and if you go to the options, and there if you go under global, let it come. Sometimes it takes time, especially when I'm presenting, my Power BI is really slow. And under global settings, if I go under report settings, there's an option to customize the appearance. So what you can do is you can change the overall appearance of your Power BI desktop app. And this is not going to affect your report canvas. So you can see clearly my whole Power BI app has got dark theme here, but still my canvas is white, because I have been doing report on a white canvas. But I can change it if I want to align it with my dark mode. I can do it dark as well. But still, this setting only applies to your Power BI tool, Power BI app, not the canvas that you're working with. And there are other options as well. So one is legacy, which is basically the legacy Power BI option, Power BI app thing, which kind of is this, right? And the good thing about this setting is you really don't have to close down your Power BI and restart it again. The setting applies the moment you change it in the settings. You really don't have to save, close, and open it again, because there are certain settings like preview features within Power BI. When you enable them, it gives you a message there like, okay, you have to close your Power BI and then restart to take this setting into effect. But in this case, it just applies instantly. Now, there were a few other options there. Let's go quickly and see like what all themes you can apply. I mean, I should not say theme, but the appearance to your Power BI desktop. So this was the legacy, which is Power BI, the dark, which I already showed you. One is light. If you apply light, it is very similar to the legacy one. Very slight change. but yeah, it's nearly same to me. So, and there is another one which is driven by your system settings. So if under your system settings you have got dark theme enabled or something like that, then it also applies directly to your, Power BI desktop app. But in my case, I love having dark, so I just applied the dark theme here, and that's how it works. So my report canvas is still white. But in the dark theme, the best thing what I like is the modeling tab. My model view is so good. I mean, when it's in dark theme, I mean, obviously not everyone likes it, as I said earlier, but I love dark theme. I love having dark themes in my reports as well. So the best thing what I like in the dark theme is the model view, and it just looks very, very good, and it just looks pretty. So that's the dark mode people have been asking for, and then Microsoft just got you. So that's the dark mode there. Okay, do we have any questions? Okay, not yet. Okay, cool. Let's go to the next setting, next update. Then the next update was in October, which was more around the markers. So like, what you can do is, I mean, I know many people like using markers, some don't like using markers, but while you're using markers, you can actually play around with them. Like, let's start with this chart. Now, what this chart is showing me, it's just showing me CO2 emissions 2019 versus the total emissions. And what I've got is I've got my countries here as the value, so you can see the bubbles against it. So this is basically CO2 emission 2019 versus 2020, and the size of bubbles is based on the total emissions. That's what I've got here. Now here you can see, if I just go and play around with markers, for all I've given like a different circle. But suppose if I want to highlight some information, like for example, say if I want to highlight, say, Uzbekistan. Now currently Uzbekistan is, I think, it's one of these bubbles, but I can change it. Like for example, I can just go and give it a cross maybe. So somewhere it came up here, but let's not choose this. I think this is a wrong example I'm choosing. Let's choose France or Italy. Let's choose Italy. And then for Italy, like say, if I give a plus sign, so I can see that plus sign here, and I can actually play around with the color of that marker as well. Like say, if I want to give it a black, so that's the black icon that appears for Italy here. I can play around with its rotation as well. Like if I want to rotate it, I can rotate it, and the marker gets rotated. I mean, obviously it's a plus sign, so it doesn't show me that much of rotation. But yeah, you can rotate it. Like for example, for Russia, what I did was I got a triangle as a marker here, and I played around with, okay, the rotation, so I can rotate it. So it kind of makes you highlight certain data points on your chart in a different way. So that's what I really like about this marker, play around with this marker format settings now, because earlier we could have given different marker types, but still we couldn't highlight them in different way. But now you can highlight them in different way. You can give them a different color as well. Like in this case, say if I have color here, and then say for the border I want to give, like say, a different color, I can give that as well. So here I have enabled match fill color, but if I disable it, I can actually go and have a different border for my marker as well. So you can do a lot many settings here, and it kind of helps you highlight information in a very different way on your chart. Like on the scatter chart, I've highlighted Italy, United Kingdom, and Russia in a different way. Similarly, I could have done for Germany, because it shows me like it has got so much CO2 emissions for 2019 and 2020. So that's where markers can help you, in highlighting your information. And similarly, if we see this line chart, now on the line, this is the same line chart I had earlier, emissions over time. And what I did was I highlighted my 2020 and 2021 markers differently. Okay, like this is the information for 2020 and this is for 2021. So again, the same thing, I went to the markers, I chose the category here. So I chose 2020 and 2021, and I tried to highlight them in a different way by giving them a different color. I can even give them a different size if I want to go. Like, for example, I can make this circular icon marker a little bit bigger. I can give it a different color if I want. I can give it a different boundary as well, border as well. So I can play around with it. I can play around with the width of the border as well. So you can make them pretty different the way you like it, or the way you want to, highlight information on your chart. Then the third example where, marker enhancements can help you is like, For example, on this chart, I am showing total emissions over time, and the legend is my emission type. So I've got one line for every other emission type. I can actually enable the series labels. It kind of tells me this is for consumption, this is for coal, this is for oil, this is for gas, cement, and flaring. So I can see one line for every other emission type over time for CO2 emissions. And then what I ended up doing was I just gave a different marker for consumption, because that's the maximum emission. I mean, that's the biggest cause of CO2 emissions over time when I see here. And then I've given it a different marker. I've given it a different color. I've just highlighted it. If I want to give it a different border, I can do that as well. And I can play around with a lot many things here. So again, this kind of information can help you, highlight your data in a different way. And especially telling the audience when they open your report, telling them by highlighting information in certain way that, okay, this is the main thing happening in the data, or say there is something weird, or there's a different pattern in your data. So these markers can actually help you identify those kind of patterns as well. So that's why this marker enhancement, which came out in October 2024, really made me happy. Like, okay, there are ways I can highlight things. I mean, not everyone uses markers on charts, but sometimes when you're working with scatter plot charts, you can really highlight information in different way. So this was another update that I wanted to show you. Then the next update that again came out in October 2024 was List Slicer. Now this is a new visual basically, and also this visual is still under development. So if you read about the update on our List Slicer, you will still see a disclaimer there that this visual is still under development. So you might still have certain issues while using it, but still it kind of allows me to give more formattings to my slicer here. So when I go there, I can definitely see the slicer settings, which I've seen before. So that's fine. I can play around with the shapes here, different kinds of shapes of my. So for example, when I look at rounded rectangle, I can see the shape as rounded rectangle here. If I choose rectangle, when I hover over it, I can see rectangle here. So I can play around with shapes on the values. I can play around with the layout. So currently I've got fixed number of buttons. If I don't want to do that, it by default takes the number of values that are in the column I'm moving in the slicer, but I can always, modify it. Like by default, there are only 7 values, but if I give 8 here, it is giving me an extra space there because buttons I want to show is 8 here. So I can play around with that as well. Then there are a few other things here like call out values. I can, play around with few settings here. Like for example, the default setting of my slicer is this, but what if when I hover over it, or when I select it, or when I press it, if I want to change color? So if you remember, if you have worked with buttons and bookmarks a lot like me in Power BI, then you'll know that like buttons and buttons have these features where you can actually change all these settings. Like while I'm hovering on the value, I can give it a different color. When I'm selecting it, I can give it a different color. When I'm pressing it, I can give it a different color. So all those settings have been given into this new List Slicer, so you can make it more interactive with the user. So for example, this is the default state. Now say when I hover over it, I want to give like say a different color to my value. So for example, when I hover over it, they should have orange color. So when I hover over them, they have orange color. And then say again, if I so when they're already selected, let's say I want to give them a pink color. So if I select East Asia Pacific, after it is selected, it shows me in pink because it is selected. So those kind of settings you can just help make your reports more good looking, more interactive, and users just love it, right? Because we are in the era where people love beautiful websites and all those things, and many people try to do that in Power BI. So when you can add these kind of capabilities, then it just makes your reports more interactive. Then you can, and apart from that, you can play around with layout as well, like vertical alignment, top, center, or right. But yeah, I like to keep it center, so that's why it is middle. And then selection, and yeah, many people have been asking around, like if there is an option to change the selection icon here, like for example, play around with the colors of these icons. Like for example, currently it is black color circle, but what if I want to change it. Like if I hover over it, and then say if I change it to blue color. So if I hover over something, my icon changes to blue. Or say if I want to give a default setting to it, like I don't like black color, or say I just go and give them a blue color. So I can play around with that as well. It has got a blue color. Yeah, I'm sure people might not be able to see it. Let's give it a different color. So it has got a light red color. So you can play around with all those settings and, make your slicer more beautiful and more interactive for the users. So that's why this new list slicer brings those capabilities when you compare to the default slicer visual what we have in Power BI for years. But yeah, again, this new list slicer is still under development, so you may still face certain issues. But yeah, good to know that there's something new that came out which you can play around with and make your reports more beautiful and interactive. Let's go to the next one. I'll just quickly do these two more updates, and then if there are any questions, then we can go through them. Now, then the other thing that came out was a new text slicer. I know there has been a custom visual for searching information on a Power BI report, but obviously it's a custom visual, so sometimes you can't rely on them, especially when we have reports in production. And yeah, somehow I don't rely much on custom visuals because I've seen some reports breaking when they were in production. So it's good to see that Microsoft has got something of their own now. So like there's a new text slicer basically. So if I just bring that here, I think it should be somewhere. Yeah. So this is a text slicer. And if I bring it here, and what it helps me do is it helps me search information to whatever text I type here. So for example, if I just type south, the moment I type that and hit enter, it's going to update this matrix. Now, sorry about that. So when I typed south, it kind of, why didn't filter? Sorry, this doesn't feel right because it definitely worked for me when I tried it. If I type Europe, okay, maybe there's something not going right on this because this was definitely working for me. And I tried it and it kind of, now the reason why I liked it is, okay, this is not working. I won't spend much time on it. But the reason why I liked it was, if you remember in Power BI, there's a feature on the normal filters that you can actually give an apply button. So when the users have selected all the filters, then they can use that apply button to apply on your report page, because sometimes you can end up on the reports where there are so many visuals on the report page. And if you keep on filtering at multiple filters, then your report might be slow. So there is a feature to take an apply button on your filter. So where you have selected all your filter, then you apply button, then it filters your report. In this case, it kind of helps me avoid that apply button on my report page, because the moment I start selecting anything, or say if I start, let's try this, why this is not working. This should actually work. If I just have this, okay. So if I just type Europe, yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe something is wrong with this. It's not working right now, but it definitely worked because I've tried it before. So the moment I type Europe here, it will only show me the elements here with Europe. And I just liked it because it avoids having an apply button against my filter if I really want to give users that capability that once they select everything and then it filters the report, or it gives users to just give a very simple search capability, like type anything and it's by default selecting or showing things getting filtered. This is really weird why it's not working, but yeah, let's leave it because otherwise I'll keep on spending time on it. And this came out in November 2024. Again, this new text slicer is again under development, so you can face issues with it because this is a new thing and they are still working on it. Let's go to the next update, which I really loved. Okay, and this was the small multiples in the new card visual that came out this month in November 2024. Yeah, we have gone through the month. Now, new card visual has been there for some time, and I've seen people doing a lot of amazing things with it in their Power BI report. But the moment that small multiples came, I was kind of very happy about it because it allows me to avoid multiple new card visuals on the report. Now let's see how we can do that quickly, because I just loved this visual, so I would like to show it from scratch. So this is the new card visual. It has been there for some time now, but now this is the new improvement that came up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move certain information from here. I've got certain measures here, so I'm going to move my total CO2 emissions. I'll move the emission for 2019. I'll move the emission for 2020. And then I will also move, there was 2019 versus 2020, I guess, information. So yeah, and what I'm going to quickly do is, this is just emissions. This is, okay, something went wrong there. This is emission for 2019. I'm just making the, basically the header settle here. And this is basically 2019 versus 2020. Okay. So when I move this information in a new card visual, it kind of gives me information in this way. Let's just make the call out values to 21, so I can see everything here. Oh, I think I moved one wrong information. Why should I move this? Yeah. So this is basically 2019 versus 2020. Yeah. So it's just an icon showing on, like, compared to 2019, how the emissions have gone. Okay. So like when I get these multiple information, I get it here. But what if I want to categorize this information at different levels, like say at region level, I want to have, or say like I want to split this four different information at emission type level. I want to have that split. So now in new card visual, you've got an option to add small multiples. So what I can do is I can just move emission type here. And the moment I do that, my information is shown against every other different emission type. And it kind of, just looks so good. I mean, I can, rather than, I mean, earlier what I would have done, I would have added different card visuals to show this information. But now within the same visual, I can show this information. And if you have worked on Power BI report performances a lot like me, you will understand the importance of having only the required visuals on your report page. Because if you have so many different, if you have more number of visuals on your report page, it can actually hinder the performance of your report. So it's very important to make sure how many visuals you're writing on a certain report page. So the moment this update came, I was like, boom, this is like pretty good. I mean, I can play around with it a lot. Like, I'll just show you the ready card visual scenario, like with the small multiples, because I did a few editing and made it a little prettier and made it to look a little prettier. So there are certain settings here, like even under, like if I go back and if I select this, so here under small multiples, you can do a lot many settings. Like here, currently it is in single column. I can if I do it single row, I can actually do it this way and say, the moment I do that, it keeps on adding my other emission types, because if I see earlier, it was not showing me all the emission types. And similarly, if I do it single column, it shows me all the different emission types here. And then there is another one called grid. I like this grid option a lot. I mean, cement core. I mean, I can actually see a few things happening in here. And what I can do is I can play around with columns as well. Like say, if I want like different columns, I can split the information that way. I can play around with different settings as well. So if I go back here, I got this ready card visual ready, like with small multiples. I can see all the different 4 information split by my different emissions type. And this is just a single visual. It is not multiple visuals. So I really love this setting. Like the small multiples actually solves a lot of issues of, avoiding the more number of visuals on a single page. So I guess, guys, this is what I really wanted to show. And these were the 9 updates that I really loved from visual point of view that came out in Power BI in 2024. And I'm sure there's still December update remaining, and I'm sure there will be something more on the December update as well. And let me just go back to my slide for now before I take the questions. So yeah, thank you, everyone. if there are any questions, let's take some questions. And in case if any of you want to connect with me, definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn, Twitter. I have my own blog as well. I'm on Fabric Community, so reach out to me there. So okay, I'll just turn off the slides and I'll stop sharing the screen as well. And let's see if there are questions first before I. Could you try drag and drop the column from the fact table instead? Instead instead regarding the new slicer and see the behavior. Sorry, and this is regarding which update you're talking about. Was it the text slicer you're talking about?
Yeah, Johan,
I,
you can put it in the chat.
I won't do that because in my fact table I don't have a mission type. I just have a key for it, and it was definitely working. Trust me, I would never show anything that will not work. Something
Nice.
really something went wrong in there. That's why it's not working. If your comment is about this text slicer, which was actually not working. Let's see.
Yeah, I
One
think
second.
so.
Let's quickly. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes I,
new
I just don't
slicer too.
like. Yeah. I just don't like dragging information much. But let's quickly try once. Maybe there was something wrong on the visual. So if I type Asia. Yeah, it's not working. It was definitely working. The moment I type Asia, it will only show me the rows with Asia in it. And somehow it's not working. Yeah. And this was definitely working. I think I need to reach out to Microsoft folks to see why this is not working. but
Okay.
yeah, guys, this is what I really wanted to show today. I mean,
Yeah. Thank you so much.
um, hope you guys liked it. Let me stop sharing my screen. How can I stop sharing? Oh, yeah, stop screen.
It's okay. You don't share anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if there are any more questions, or if you want to ask anything you haven't asked here, you want to reach out later, it's absolutely fine with me.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was amazing presentation. Okay, what implementation are you most looking forward to by 2025?
That's a
Okay.
good question. I love to think on it because there are so many things in Power BI you can think of. I'm not sure how many are working with Fabric. I mean, these days I work more with Fabric, so I'm more inclined towards it. But yeah, I'll have to think around like what all things we can have in Power BI. One custom visual what I really like in Power BI. If you guys, I don't remember the name of it. It's just not on top of my head. But I've seen many people using it for financial reporting. I think it's a custom visual and it's pretty good because it kind of allows you to have all the options that we still don't have in matrix or table visuals. It have all the icon formatting, amazing conditional formatting stuff. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah, if Microsoft can bring something like that for us, that would be really great. Let me quickly search what that. I don't know. It's just not on top of my head. But yeah, if Microsoft can bring certain kind of visuals, in-house visual for us, that would be really great because sometimes it's hard to trust custom visuals, as I said earlier, when you're planning to move your reports to production, because I've seen reports breaking in production. Um, yeah, I think it's a table custom visual. Yeah, it's just yeah, it's an amazing visual. It's an amazing visual, but I just want it to be brought up in Power BI. But yeah, we don't have it yet. Yeah, I think I don't remember it. Sorry guys, but yeah, I still want Power BI visuals to be more improved to certain more extent so that we don't have to use custom visuals, especially the ones that are not approved by Microsoft, because sometimes we end up using it because client and customer have certain requirements, they like it, we use it, but still they are not performant, they are not good enough. The moment you move report to production, they break your report. So I still want Microsoft to work on certain visuals where customers are really asking and they are still not being built in house. So yeah, that would be something I would look forward from visual side, um, if that makes sense for 2025. Sorry, it's I'm not sure if I'm able to pronounce your name, Louis, properly, your first name, but yeah, I'll stick to Louis. So
Yeah.
hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. Okay. I think there is no more question that I think. Thank you so much. I'm pretty sure that people will use all of the updated that you
Mhm.
gave them, because what I saw, that's like eye catching. Like when clients see that, they will love that. Especially
Yeah,
the other one that you said you can put it in scatter chart for
Mhm.
highlighting the specific country, for
data
example.
points. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
but you can put in the chat if you which one you would like to use more from now on. Yeah.
And also, I think someone in the chat asked me from where this data is. So I have shared a link in the private chat. If one of you can share it, because I haven't joined the actual comments there, chat there. So
Yeah.
I think Yan, you asked about from where I got this data. So this is the link from where I got the data, and this data is like in a single flat file, and then I made it into a star schema model. So you have to work on it to get that done. But this is the data. This is the place from where I got this data. And on this Our World website, you can actually have so many different data sets. There are amazing
Yeah.
publicly available real world data sets there that help you
Mhm.
build your reports, and I've seen people using it amazingly in creating great Power BI reports. So definitely go and look at it.
Yes.
Excellent. So
Thank you.
if you enjoyed this session, please make sure to follow us on Meetup. You have the link. You have the QR code, and I will display the link. And make sure you follow Pragati, Atefe, and me on LinkedIn, so that you don't miss future events. And thank you again, Pragati. It was awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me, both of you, and thanks everyone for attending the session. Hopefully it was helpful for everyone.
Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you so much. I hope see you next time.
Definitely. See you.
See you.